welcome back. We're still discussing the Wallace, the 19th century naturalist, an exhibition that is ongoing, not ongoing, will be going on later this month. And with our two guests, Etienne Turpin and Anne-Sophie Springer. Back to the Wallace line. Wallace is best known for that. I'm afraid in Indonesia, it's at school you're told about the Wallace line and this rigid line when the two biospheres are different. Is that the only legacy that is left us, or is it only known for that?
Well, hopefully with the exhibition we can add some knowledge to that together.
Right.
So he's actually an important co-discoverer of the theory of evolution that Charles Darwin is most known for in biological history.
They're contemporaries.
They are contemporaries. Darwin was about 30 years, 25 years older.
Right.
So when Wallace was in the archipelago, he was in his early 30s. And through his travels, through his observations, he developed a very similar idea about the natural selection of species. However, he was not a trained academic naturalist as Darwin was, and so that might be a reason why we...
What was he then?
He was trained as a land surveyor originally, and then he became very fascinated in beetles in his early 20s, but more as a hobby.
Right.
And then he went to South America to collect zoological specimens. Those got lost on his return trip because the boat burned, and that's why he came to Southeast Asia in the first place. And so the theory of evolution was thought out by these two figures at roughly the same time.
And what when you have such a large body of collection, 125,660, where did they go? Did they all go to a museum somewhere in Britain, or?
One is left in Singapore. There is one bird.
A flycatcher bird is in the Natural History Museum in Singapore.
And one of the longhorn beetles was recently returned by the Oxford Natural History Museum to the Sarawak Museum in Malaysia. But other than those two, all other specimens are somewhere scattered throughout Europe, as far as we can tell. But importantly, that collection is not held. You can't go to the Natural History Museum in London and say, may I see the Wallace
collection?
because of the way that collection was sold and broken up and purchased by different people. And so now Darren Mann at Oxford Natural History Museum is himself trying to reassemble pieces of the Wallace collection because they're actually quite valuable historical artifacts in the lots that they were donated. So we've been working with a number of scientific curators in Europe trying to understand where the collection went and which pieces of it are accessible.
And in the exhibition that you will have here in Jakarta, in Salihara, are any of this exhibit there, or what is actually being offered for view there, for viewing basically?
There's going to be a lot offered.
So I'm not going to spend an afternoon looking at beetles.
There's some cases of beetles, approximately as much as the table here is going to be beetles. So we have not been able to loan any of these original specimens from the UK collections or from the European collections to bring them back into the exhibition at Salihara. But what we have been able to do together with our friends and colleagues at Salihara was to establish a really wonderful partnership with the Indonesian Institute of Science, LIPI, and the Museum Zoologicum Bogoriense. And so they have agreed, the zoologists in the institute have agreed to loan us
the specimen, the same
large
specimen
number of specimens, the same species that Wallace collected, but not the original object, original taxidermies that are not here any longer. So
and to supplement that, so that we can see those in relation. So, for example, the bird skins of the birds of paradise, precious objects, obviously valuable objects. In addition to that, the British photographer Fred Edwards has contributed a large series of large format photographs that are this exact specimens. He has spent years tracking down the original specimens, and those will be a main element in the show.
Okay. When you say original, is the one that actually Wallace
The
collected?
Wallace specimens,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
So this is
So
a
he
pho-
went to look for them.
Yes.
He has hunted them through European museums.
Yes.
What sparked him? What prompted him to do that?
Wallace,
Just a question.
Wallace inspires a certain fixation, I
Yes.
think. And a number of the scientific curators and researchers and artists, he has a certain tenacity. He did things on his own. He was
Yeah.
not wealthy.
Right.
He was incredibly attentive, and in a number of ways, I think for a lot of scientists, he has a certain heroic quality of doing it himself. He carried his own equipment. He was not the gentleman traveler
Right,
like
right.
Darwin.
Right.
He really was on his own and working at the front line of biological theory.
You spoke about Lippi and Bogor Zoo. What's it called? Suri and whatever.
MZB.
MZB, yeah.
What about from abroad? Have you got anything from abroad in terms of?
in terms of zoological specimens.
Are you working together? I don't know. Like photography, I can understand, but it's
Yeah.
private.
Yes.
Other institutions, did they lend
Oh.
anything in terms of?
Yes. Not zoological specimens. So
Right.
those are entirely from the Lippi collection.
Right.
But as Etienne said earlier, in our 2-year research process, we've been in touch with all of these natural history curators and
Right.
researchers, archivists in
Right.
European collections. So part of the exhibition are documents of Wallace's writing, so pages of his original notebooks,
His letters
excerpts
with
from his
Darwin.
letters, all this kind of material. And so we're speaking of collections such as the Linnaean Society in London, which holds
Right.
his original notebooks, the handwriting,
Right,
which then was transformed into the Malay Archipelago book, which he published in 1869. We're
His original drawings of
Yes,
some
the
of the
lithographs
butterflies
from
and
the
the
book.
lithographs. So there's been a lot of additional materials contributed. Now, importantly, all of those things are also put in an arrangement with contemporary Indonesian art. So,
Contemporary
so if
Indonesian
it
art.
wasn't enough already, then we also have 14 Indonesian artists, as well as 12 international artists who have also contributed original works responding to questions that come out of Wallace's work.
so
So
importantly.
works that are actually related to the journey, and works that are related to the Wallace experience, or what?
So, with the Indonesian artists, we've been working for about a year or a little less than a year, and they have actually been making new works in response to the proposal of the exhibition.
Yeah.
And so, yes, they are responding to elements of the travels, to environmental questions that can be raised through looking at Wallace's story.
Okay.
They are, addressing animals.
Okay, we'll come back again. We have to break, unfortunately. Stay with us, please.